June 25th, 1982. El Molinón Stadium, Gijón, Spain. West Germany against Austria. A World Cup group stage match, played in front of 41,000 people and broadcast live to the entire planet. In the 10th minute, Horst Hrubesch scored for Germany, 1-0. Then something very strange happened. For the next 80 minutes, both teams stopped playing. Literally stopped. Passing sideways, passing backwards, not shooting, not attacking, not tackling, not competing. Because both teams had already calculated, before kickoff, that a 1-0 German victory would qualify both of them for the next round and eliminate a third team that had already finished playing the day before. That third team was Algeria. Algeria watched it live from their hotel. Their players wept. 50,000 Algerians in the stadium waved cash at the players in disgust. The German commentator broadcast live on national television. What is happening here is disgraceful and has nothing to do with football. And when the final whistle blew, both teams walked off, arm in arm, into the next round. No one was punished. No one was fined. No result was overturned. This is the story of the most infamous fixed match in football history, and how the sport of the 20th century learned to protect the powerful and betray the rest. To understand what happened in Gijón, you have to understand the tournament structure. 1982, Group 2. 4 teams. West Germany, Austria, Algeria, Chile. 2 teams advanced to the second round. Everyone expected Germany and Austria to walk through. Then, on June 16th, the impossible happened. Algeria beat West Germany 2-1. The reigning European champions, humiliated by an African nation making its very first World Cup appearance. Rabah Major scored, Lakhdar Belloumi scored the winner. Algeria became overnight the darling of the tournament. Germany recovered by beating Chile 4-1. Austria beat Algeria 2-0, and then Chile 3-2. So on June 25th, before Germany played Austria, the standings were clear. Germany had 3 points, Austria had 4, Algeria had 4. Chile was out. And every single player on both benches in Gijón knew, before the whistle blew, exactly what result would send them both through, and Algeria home.
Kickoff. 9th minute. A German corner. Horst Hrubesch, the towering West German striker, rises above the Austrian defense and heads the ball into the net. 1-0. And then, the world watched something no one had ever seen in a World Cup before. Nothing happened. For the next 81 minutes, Germany and Austria passed the ball to each other, softly, deliberately, without any pretense of playing football. German defender Karl-Heinz Förster passed to Austrian defender Roland Hattenberger. Hattenberger passed it back. The ball rolled slowly across the midfield. Nobody sprinted, nobody tackled, nobody attempted to score. The referee, Bob Valentine of Scotland, could do nothing. The rules had no provision to force players to try to win. In the stands, the crowd began to boo, then jeer, then throw things. Algerian fans in the stadium started chanting Argelia, Argelia. German fans burned German flags. Austrian fans left the stadium in protest. The West German TV commentator, Eberhard Stanjek, refused to continue commentating and famously said on air, "You can say what you want, but not everything I have seen here is football."
Algeria had played their final group match the day before. They had beaten Chile 3-2. They had done everything they were supposed to do. Their players were watching Germany-Austria live from their hotel in Oviedo, 40 kilometers from Gijón. Rabah Major, Lakhdar Belloumi, Salah Assad, men who had beaten the world champions of Europe just 9 days earlier, sat in stunned silence as they realized what was happening. Algeria's coach, Mahidine Khalif, reportedly threw a chair at the television. When the final whistle blew, Algeria was eliminated on goal difference. They filed an official protest with FIFA. FIFA rejected it, ruling that no rule had been technically broken. The Algerian Federation appealed. FIFA rejected it again. The match result stood. Germany and Austria advanced. And an African nation, in its very first World Cup,
was sent home by two European teams who had spent 80 minutes deliberately not playing football in front of the entire world.
Here is the moment that changed football forever, and also the moment that defines what happens when the powerful cheat the powerless. FIFA had to respond. It did. Barely. FIFA did not overturn the result. FIFA did not fine the German Federation. FIFA did not fine the Austrian Federation. FIFA did not suspend a single player. FIFA did not disqualify a single coach. Instead, FIFA passed a new rule, starting with the very next World Cup in 1986, that all final group stage matches would be played simultaneously. That way, no team could ever again know exactly what result they needed before kicking off. That rule change is still in effect today. It is the direct legacy of Gijon. But for Germany and Austria in 1982, the punishment was nothing. Germany went on to reach the final that year, losing to Italy 3-1. Austria reached the second round. Algeria went home. Every single German and Austrian player from that match retired with a full career, full salaries, full pensions, and full public rehabilitation. Nobody was punished. Nobody has ever been punished. Ever.
For years afterward, the players from both teams refused to discuss what had happened in Gijón. Then, slowly, some began to admit the truth. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, the German captain, said in a 1989 interview, "We understood after the first goal what would happen. We just played on." Herbert Prohaska, the Austrian midfielder, said in 2012, "Of course it was an unspoken arrangement. Everyone knew. There was no plot, no phone call. It just happened because it made sense for both of us." Wolfgang Dremmler, the German midfielder, admitted decades later, "If we had continued to attack, we might have won 3-0. Then Austria would have been eliminated. Neither of us wanted that. No one gave orders, no money changed hands, there was no criminal conspiracy. There was only, in the middle of a World Cup, a silent, tacit, mutual understanding between 22 professional footballers that they would collectively betray the sport, betray the fans, and betray a third national team, because the mathematics favored them both. And that, in many ways, is more damning than any organized fix, because it means the culture of football itself, at its highest level, was willing to permit it.
So why do we still talk about Gijón? Why does a 43-year-old football match, one out of thousands, matter enough that historians still write books about it? Because Gijón is the perfect example of a crime that broke no laws. It exposed something uncomfortable about professional sports at every level. When institutional rules allow the powerful to benefit at the expense of the powerless, the powerful will benefit. Every time. Not because they are evil, because they are rational. And when a governing body, in this case FIFA, refuses to punish that behavior, it sends a permanent message. Results can be manipulated, as long as the manipulation stays inside the letter of the law. That message has echoed through football for the next 4 decades. Match-fixing scandals in Italy, corruption trials at FIFA, bribes at Qatar. Every single one traces back, philosophically, to what was allowed to happen in Gijón. Because Gijón was the day football learned that if the powerful cheat cleverly enough, the sport itself will look the other way.
There is one more thing you should know. Algeria, humiliated and eliminated, returned home to a hero's welcome in Algiers. 200,000 people met the team at the airport. President Chadli Benjedid personally decorated every player. And Rabah Majer, 4 years later, would score one of the most beautiful goals in Champions League history. A backheel volley for FC Porto in the 1987 final that is still shown on European television every year. Justice, when it comes to football, rarely comes from FIFA. It comes from the memory of the people who watched. Because 43 years later, when we speak about the World Cup of 1982, we do not remember Germany reaching the final. We do not remember Italy lifting the trophy. We remember the 80 minutes in Gijon, when 22 men stopped playing football. And we remember the players of Algeria, weeping in a hotel room in Oviedo, betrayed by a system that promised them fair competition
and delivered them a rigged game. Nobody was punished, but everybody remembers. And in the long history of sport, sometimes the memory itself is the only real justice we ever get.